So for this first part, 9-1, I did take the standard form directions off the test to make it a little bit easier and shorter for you. So all you have to do is write a polynomial function. You can do it in standard form, that's fine. So when you put the zeros into your function, they're going to go back into parentheses, but what do you need to remember to do? Switch the sign. So it's going to be x plus 5, x plus 3, and x minus 1.
How do you not have my math history?
You are going to have one of those problems. All right, you will have one of those problems on your test. Your test is 20 questions. Is it what? What do you mean by big test? Just a regular test. Yeah. So, 20 questions. You can use a calculator on the whole thing. So this whole thing you can use a calculator on to help you. And it is 20 questions. All right. Any questions on the first one? Huh? Like in standard? Let's see. X squared plus 8x plus 15.
Oh, like everything combined in?
Yeah. So in standard form, it would be x cubed plus 7x squared plus 7x minus 15. Is that what y'all got? If you did it in standard form.
If you did this, that's too.
All right. Like I said, I'm not going to make you do it in standard form if you don't want
Monday
to.
was our free day, so.
Yeah. Okay. Go down to number 3. Number 3 says graph y equals x times x plus 1, x minus 3. Find the zeros, the max, and the min. You are going to have 2 of these problems. Now the zeros, since it's in this form, it's already factored out for you. The zeros are really easy to find. What would that one be?
0.
What would that one be?
1.
-1. And what would that one be?
+3.
So my zeros are 0, -1, and 3. So on my graph here, 0, -1, and 3. All right, for the max and the min, we're going to do that in the calculator. For some reason in your calculator, it doesn't like the x by itself, so throw that x in parentheses. And then x plus 1 and x minus 3. Alright, so here's what my graph looks like, and you see it does cross at 3, 0, and -1. If you wanted to find the zeros with the calculator, it will also do that. You just analyze the graph, go to zeros, and then highlight them. Right? You remember doing that? Yeah. All right. That's also how we're going to do the max and the min. So we're going to come over here for maximum, highlight it, and then your point pops up. And then you do the same thing for min. My points are in here from the other periods. But any questions on those?
What are the points?
So for the max, it is -0.54. comma 0.88, and for the min 1.87 comma -6.06. I don't care.
What does it look like?
I rounded. I'm not that particular about rounding. You know, either just give me 2 spots after the decimal or round it. It's fine.
What did you get on the graph?
Like that. For drawing the graph, I need you to just be as exact as possible. If it's close, I will give you credit. If you just squiggle, I'm not going to give you credit. So I know that the max is some here up here around 1, and my min is down here at -6. So if you look at your calculator and your paper, it should look pretty similar. Doesn't have to be exact, but it should be pretty similar. All right, so you're going to have 2 of those. Any questions? All right, moving on. Go to number 6. All right, number 6 says find the zeros of the function. You could plug it in the calculator and find the zeros that way, or you could factor it. All right, so I'm going to factor this one just to show you another way. So first you look for a GCF. What's in common? X. And when you take an x out, you're left with x squared minus 9.
What? Oh.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, I was on the wrong one.
Okay, and so then we are going to see if we can take it farther. That's a square. Is 9 a square?
Yeah.
Yes. And it's a difference.
Yeah.
So I can factor that farther to be what?
X plus 3 and then X minus 3.
Good. No problem. Bye. So x plus 3x minus 3, and then from here I can get my zeros. Once again, what zero would that be?
0.
0. Doesn't have a number, so it's 0. What about this one?
Negative 3.
-3. And what about this one?
3.
+3. You will have one of those kind of problems.
You didn't do number 5.
It's just like number 3. You just graph it. All right. Go to number 8. Number 8, also very similar. Now we're just talking about the multiplicity. So how would you tell the multiplicity?
How many
By
times
the
is it there?
exponent.
Right, the exponent, how many times it's there. So the exponent will tell me the multiplicity. So in number 8, what's one of my zeros? 3, a +3 with a multiplicity of what?
6. Sorry, that was mine.
And what's the other one?
5 multiplicity of
2.
4.
The one above. I'm doing 8. Wait, okay, so -2.
Multiplicity of 2.
Yeah. And that's it. You're going to have one of those guys. Only one. All right, go to number 10. Number 10, we're talking about transformations. So the negative sign, what kind of transformation is that?
Reflected across X axis.
Good. Reflect across X axis. What about the 2?
Vertical stretch.
Vertical stretch. What about the -5?
Right 5.
5. And what about the +1?
Up 1.
Up 1. You will have one of those kind of transformations.
Is this the test that you said you did in 11 minutes?
Yes.
Wait, can you repeat that?
She said she took the test in 11 minutes, so it
Oh,
should take
that
us
one.
45.
Okay.
You said how many was number 8?
8, you had one of number 8. Okay. Flip it over. Number 12. Number 12 says write the cubic function after being shifted right 2, down 10, and reflected across the x-axis. So I'm giving you the translations. You need to write the function. Now, this is super important. It is a cubic function. So your function should have the x and a cube. If you forget your cube, I will have to count off. All right? Because without that cube, it's not a cubic function. So don't forget your cube here. The other stuff we're just going to put in the correct spots. So right 2, where's that going? Inside is going to be a +2 or a -2?
-2.
+2. Down 10, where does that go?
Outside.
Outside and plus or minus?
-10.
Good. And then reflect across the x-axis?
Negative sign in front of the front.
Good. Negative sign in the very, very front. You will have one of those. All right, any questions so far? For section 9-2, you are going to have 5 problems that are factoring. 5. So if you think about the test, it's 20 questions, 5 points apiece. If you don't do factoring, you're starting off at a 75. So make sure I cannot stress how important factoring is enough. I feel like I told you when we started that you really just need to learn it, and we've been doing it forever. So 5 of them, they're all going to be, mixed together. It's not going to say, factor using sum of cubes. It's just going to say factor, and you have to factor it completely. Always, always, always look for a GCF first. If you get stuck, most of the time it's because of GCF. So on number 14, what is the GCF?
3x.
3x.
Can you take out negatives if it was all negative?
Mm-hmm.
That was a dumb question.
Well, it's not. All right, so I'm going to take the 3x. So when I take a 3x from this term, what am I left with?
X squared minus 7x plus.
Good. X squared minus 7x plus 10. All right, and then I have to try to keep going. So what multiplies to give me 10 adds to give me negative 7. Good. Negative 2 and negative 5. So x minus 2, x minus 5. All right, so because it says factor completely, make sure you take it as far as you can. When you are out of exponents, you know you're done. Now, sometimes you will have exponents still in your answer, but that's what you still have to check. So like on 16, I don't have a GCF, but I know this is an exponent of a cube, and so I ask myself, is 64 a cube?
Yes.
Yes, so since 64 is a cube, I know I can factor it. If 64 was not a cube, then that would be as far as I could go. Does that make sense?
Do you write out x plus 4, x plus 4, x plus 4?
No. So the cubes, you have to be real careful. Cubes, you have to use the formulas. Have to use the formulas. They're not just x plus 4, x plus 4, x plus 4. That's the squares. Squares are easy. Cubes, you must use the formulas. Have to. Now, I'm not going to make you memorize them. They're going to be up here. Don't forget about the square. I know it's kind of a tiny, it's an exponent, so some people aren't seeing it. But don't forget about the square on the b term. But you have to use the formulas for the cubes. I'm doing 16, yeah. So on 16, what is my a? X. What is my b? 4, because 4 cubed is 64. And now is this going to be the green formula or the orange formula?
Green.
The green one, because it's a plus sign. So you're going to do the sum, right? The sum. So I have x plus 4, and then a squared, x squared, a times b, 4x, and then last thing, b squared, 16. The special things about the cubes is that this guy right here, even though it has an exponent, you cannot take it farther. So that's as far as you can go when you're talking about cubes.
Oh, really? So you can't do like the whole x?
You can't do that. I mean, you could try, but it's never going to work.
Okay.
So they'll give you, that's going to be the imaginary solutions.
Oh, okay.
Because if you think about a cube, how many times is it across the x-axis? Just once, right? And that's coming from this guy. So those are the imaginary ones.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Did you throw away our factoring pages?
No, I have that. Wait, which ones?
The one where there's a straight line.
I think so. I have more if you want them, though.
I mean, I think it's a
Okay. 18. All right, so 18. I don't have a GCF. And I have 3 terms. So 3 terms, I'm going to be using the x method. Now on this one, because that's an x4, the only difference is that these guys will be x squared. Because x squared times x squared is x4. But other than that, it's still kind of the same method as the x method. What multiplies to give me 400, but adds to give me negative 41. I looked on your test. I don't think your numbers get quite this big on your test. If you do come across something that you can't find the factors of, you do have a calculator. So 400 divided by x will give you the factors of 400. So let me show you. So 400 divided by x, whatever number you're trying to find the factors of. So in our case, 400. And then I'm going to look at the table. Control T. Yeah, that's true. And then all of these guys are your factors. So you're looking for which pair is going to add to give me 41. So that's 401. That's 202. Decimals don't work. So 104. So none of those are right. That's 85. That's 58. That's 50. So we're getting closer. And there we go. That's going to be 41.
Are you going to 20?
So my numbers here, negative 16, negative 25. And then, like I said, just make sure you check and you factored completely. That's a square. Is 16 a square?
Yes.
Yes. What times what gives me 16? So x plus 4 right, what about this other guy?
It is, yes.
So how would I factor that?
X plus 4. I mean,
5.
5, sorry. X minus
Yep, good. X plus 5, X minus 5.
4.
All right, last factoring one on the review. Once again, your test does not have big numbers like this, but that's all right. Number 20. Number 20, you don't have a GCF. They don't all have X. You don't have a number in common. And there's 4 terms. So 4 terms, do you remember what method, what it was called? Grouping. So we're going to group the first 2. We're going to group the second 2. What can you take out of the first 2?
X squared.
X squared. When you take an X squared out, what are you left with?
X minus 7.
Good. What do you think you're going to take out of the second 2? Wait, say it again?
2.
Negative 324. Because when I take my factor out, inside these parentheses, what should I be left with? X minus 7. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And if you wanted to check in your calculator, 2,268 divided by 324 is 7. All right, so to write the answer, you are only going to write X minus 7 one time.
Yeah.
All right, one time. And then you're going to put the 2 GCFs together. And then once again, make sure you check. That's a square. Is 324 square?
Yes.
It's a big number,
Yes.
so I'm going to type it in my calculator. And yes, it is. It's 18. So I can write my final answer as X plus 18, X minus 18. All right, so those are the factoring. Any questions?
No.
Sweet. Go
Plus
to,
18 and X minus 18.
go to 9-3.
Yeah.
Remember 9-3, 9-4, I need those before the test. Those are going on this 6 weeks. 9-3 is all about long division. What's up? Okay.
Oh,
So, all 9-3 is long division. You will have 3 long division problems on your test. So if you don't know how to do long division, you might want to practice it because this is where you might run in to the time issue if you don't know how to do it. It says long division, so use long. So that's a good question. If it says to use long division, make sure you use long division. All right, because on the test, if it says use long division and you use synthetic, I can't give you any credit. But you only have 3 of them, so. All right, let's do this one. Shh. It's not. Oh, if it was multiple choice, they wouldn't, so you could do either one. I'm doing long division. All right, so x minus 2 goes on the outside. 4x cubed plus 3x squared minus 6x minus 7 goes on the inside. All right, so what times x will give me 4x cubed? 4x squared. Then off to the side here, my first step, I'm going to do 4x squared times x minus 2. Good. Negative 8x squared. So, good. Then flip the signs. Negative 4x cubed and plus 8x squared. Stick them underneath. Line your like terms up. Minus 4x cubed plus 8x squared. First term should cancel if you did it right. So then you get 11x squared. Drop down these other guys. Good. And then x times 11x. So over here, 11x times x minus 2. Good. Second step. Good. Stick it underneath. Plus 22x. First guys cancel, so I know I did it right. 16x minus 7. What times x will give you 16x? 16. So 16 times x minus 2. Good. 16x minus 32. Good. Switch the signs. Cancels. And then negative 7 plus 32. Close. 25. 25. So 25 is called your what? Good. So remainder is 25. So down here where it says quotient, the stuff on top is your answer. 4x squared plus 11x plus 16. Remainder 25 is your answer. And is it a factor? No, because what does your remainder have to be for it to be a factor? 0. All right, so you're going to have 3 of those. On your review, question 23, 24, 25, and 26 are all just more long division problems. So I'm going to skip them and come down here to 9-4. Correct. All right. 9-4 is all about synthetic division. So you are going to have 2 synthetic division problems. So on number 27, I'm going to do my upside down division sign. What number goes on the outside?
3. Positive
3. So make sure you switch that sign. Instead of it being a negative 3, it's going to be a positive 3. And then